Yeah, so a really good segue in from what Logan was telling us, actually, and this is why we, to some degree, got heavily involved in looking at a model contract template. This was initiated by WorkSafe about 3 years ago. It's been like pulling hen's teeth, I tell you. But realistically, we've got here, by setting up this template, this is what we saw it could help the industry by. Basically, not actually just improve things, but transform industry relationships. That was probably one of the key things that has come out of it. Just a sharing of risk and benefits, and WorkSafe saw that probably some of the risk areas for contractors was the contract itself and putting that in place. So, you know, for having a better relationship between principals and contracts, we think that, you know, it can bring about huge success for the industry, and, you know, create the foundation, I guess, to sit down and have that negotiation piece, which was critical in the template that we looked at. What we did was we took a whole lot of contracts and found that, you know, some of them were out of date, some of them were pretty hideously formatted and, you know, weren't fit for purpose. There was a very legally written, and realistically there was benefit in probably having something a little bit more standard, so that if you changed your employer, you know, there was something similar that you could understand across the country. We published a best practice guideline, so what, you know, good looked like. A couple of things that we highlighted in here was notice periods, stand down rates, profit margins, etc., and contract terms and things. What we did, we set up an industry advisory group, which was across the supply chain pretty much. We did a stock take of the current contracts that were out there. And then we heard about New Plymouth District Council had instigated these NEC4 contracts, which was, they're from the UK actually. And they'd transformed their whole relationship with their service providers and the council there. So we thought, actually, that's kind of like a model that we liked the sound of, and we got hold of the NEC4 rep here in New Zealand and started trialling these templates, or building the templates up to be forestry centric. What we did reach out to was a number of forest owners and said, would you be prepared to pilot with us? That was probably the first hurdle we just about didn't jump over. But actually Manulife put their hand up and said, yep, we're prepared to have a look at them and work with you in building them up, which was like, yay, this is great. Just a little bit of information there is that they are almost like a box set, a template that they keep updating all the core clauses and any legal requirements on contracts. But they set out everything that should be in a contract. They're across any industry. So our task was to make them forestry centric, obviously. And again, this is what the team who were piloting it came up with, just some core clauses that needed to be in there. They were all listed, and they sat down with forest owners and a couple of contractors and worked through them from a harvesting perspective and silviculture as well. So as I said, all the legal requirements were accounted for in the template, and they keep getting updated. What the contract basically finalised in was that it was really clear and simple to understand. There wasn't too much legal jargon. There was a friendly structure to work through. So when you were sitting down in the room with the principal and contractor, you know, you'd negotiate some of those clauses. There's kind of two documents. There's actually the template itself, and then there's a reference document that is directly from NEC4. So helpful user guide and how to fill it out. So actually what happened in the end was that we got to the point where we set up those templates. They didn't go actually out to be used. Manulife pulled the rug underneath us and said that their international owner wouldn't let them distract from their own internal contracts. But I do have to say, this was like 3 years later. This was only just recently, this at the beginning of the year. What it has done is, because we actually were talking to a whole lot of companies around what we were doing, I can genuinely say that there's a lot more forest owners out there well aware of some of the changes they need to make in their contracts. I had forest owners ring me and say, where does our contract sit? Is it good, bad or ugly? Some of them I were able to say, yes, yours is pretty ugly. So there's been quite a change and a definite focus on the makeup of contracts. Paul, I don't know whether I don't want to put you on the spot, but you'd have to say that in the last couple of years, there's been a better consideration between those contracts and some of the additional clauses in. I know that during COVID, there was a number that rang us and said they didn't have a fuel adjustment factor clause in there, and did we have a model clause that we could put in to, or give them? So there was definitely a change, I reckon, in the way industry was, looking at contracts. Yeah, would you say? To be fair?
Yeah, I think everybody's has a look at it. All of the contractors that we've employed have all had the opportunity to take it through our contracts through to for comment from their various people.
Yeah.
So, and there's been some changes that we've made as a result of that stuff coming back. So I haven't compared it directly to this.
Yeah.
But I see some of your core ones in there are all sitting in our contracts. So.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, as much as I sort of thought we haven't got it over the line, I do believe that we've made an alert, and we've kind of raised the focus on what should be in contracts and what good does look like. So if you go to our website under resources, you can apply to get the templates and the guide document. The only thing that we have done is, because we didn't have the dollars to follow it through with NEC 4, was we haven't got their writable guide document, but it's there as a photocopied revision, and you can it's more about checking when you get your contract from your principal, because I don't ever think we'll get to a position where all of the industry is using a template, but at least you can follow through and check that the core clauses are in there, and some of those references are, referred to anyway. And the whole thing is that from a contractor perspective, you should be able to sit down with your principal and actually go through the contract and make sure you fully understand it, because I think for people that I've spoken to that have come to us with a few issues around their contracts, it's more about, an understanding on both sides, what's in it. So really important to just bring that into the fore, yeah. And, cover off some of your things that are in the costing models as well, to make sure that you've got the right to renew or review. So we've just basically said using a contract with trust and cooperation as a core principle, delivering the best outcomes for all parties. And, that's what I clearly said. It was good for the principal to be involved in this, and good for the contractors to be involved, so that they clearly get they're on the same page, basically, yeah. So that was a little bit about the model contract. So you can access that off our website, use it, and even give us feedback if you want. But yeah, we were a little bit disappointed, but actually at the end of the day, WorkSafe, as I said, we're pretty happy where we got to, and just that whole change in sort of people's focus over those years.